Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I am super excited as this is my very first art tutorial here on YouTube. So I am so excited to share with you and I hope you enjoy and I hope you find it helpful. Before we get started on today's content, I do just want to take a moment and introduce myself. My name is cassydraws. I am a wildlife and pet portrait artist from Canada and I am also a Twitch streamer. So if you have seen my content before, chances are it was on twitch.tv/cassydraws where we live stream 2 to 3 days a week. And if you are new here and you stumbled upon this video searching through YouTube, well, hello and welcome to our beautiful, amazing art family here. So thank you so much. I do just want to say also as well before we get started, number one, I talk a lot, but number two, all of my content on Twitch and on YouTube is sponsored by Chartpack and Grumbacker. I'm going to link their websites down below, and I also have a list of supplies on my own website, cassydraws.com, that you can take a look and see exactly what I'm using when I'm painting through these time lapses and these tutorials. So please make sure you check the description box down below. And without further ado, we are going to get started on this detailed realistic eye tutorial in acrylic. Enjoy. Hey everyone, it's me, voiceover Cassie. Let's get this tutorial started. So I am using a mixed media paper today just for the purpose of this tutorial. I did not want to do it on a full-size canvas. Canvas is very expensive, so I decided, you know what, let's try it on this mixed media paper. So you will see a little bit of a different reaction on the paint to the paper versus my canvas artwork that you may have watched on stream. But for the purpose of today, we're just going to go ahead and use this Tone Tan mixed media paper. Now I have, as you can see here, created a mixture of Mars Black, burnt umber, and titanium white. I never recommend going in with a full black outline for your eyes or really throughout your paintings unless totally necessary. I prefer to use a mixture of brown, black, and white so that if I have to really punch out those areas kind of in the inner corner there that get really, really dark and not a lot of light from the camera flash or the outside elements, I can really go ahead and punch that in. So you're seeing me right now, I am following the outline of my sketch. You will see a little bit shortly here, just about now, that I'm going to start punching out the top of the eyeball as well, kind of beyond my sketch. You can kind of see me reaching up and kind of moving that black paint just above there. And the reason being is because I'm going to add a little bit later in the video some white hairs and sort of cream colored hairs on this big cat eye. I'm not going to focus too much today on doing fur texture. That's for another video and another day. But today I'm going to be just focusing on the pupil and the iris color, highlights, glares, etc. So here I am. I am currently mixing the base color of the eye. Now it will look very, very neon here at first, but I promise as we go later in the video, I'm going to tone that down a little bit. But I really wanted this eye to stand out. You guys are probably watching right now like, damn Cassie, you need to relax with that color. But here I am. I'm just gonna go and put this all over the eye just as my base layer here. With the magic of video editing, I am painting very, very quickly. And I'm super excited. I'm happy so far with how this is looking. Now it will look very sort of transparent at first. Again, reminder about the paper. It will act a little bit differently than a canvas will. So you do see the sketch kind of underneath, but I promise at the end of this video, it will look very, very different and very, very opaque. Now what I am doing is I'm going in and I'm adding some color down below and above and on the sides just for a little bit of fur texture. Again, I'm not going to be focusing too much on this video of fur. I know that's one tutorial that you guys have asked me a lot for, would be a fur tutorial. So that will come later in my YouTube journey. But for now, I'm just going to add this color just to give a little bit of a base. Sometimes when I feel as though you paint an eye without the fur or the scales or the texture around it, it does kind of fall a little flat. So I'm trying to kind of build a little bit of a base where those kind of eyebrow hairs would come from, and even the eyelashes of the subject as well, which I will add in kind of quickly towards the end, just to kind of give you a better idea of exactly where this eye is laying on the face. So I'm adding in some highlights just down below there, kind of by the crook of the eye, and now we're going to be moving on. This color here, I am slowly starting to add in, and we're going to layer. So with eyes and how I create eyes, I do, and you will see in this video, hundreds of layers, different colors, different shades. So I'm adding in this green color. It does have this eye is beautiful. It does have a little bit of a greenish kind of blue tinge to it towards the end. So I'm going to pretty much add in any color that I can think of. There, I punched in really, really darkly. Watching this video back, I'm like, damn. But we went for it. We went for it. And that's the beauty of, painting and doing artwork. There's no right or wrong way of doing something or, creating in general. Just do what you feel is right and do what you feel comfortable. At the end of the day, you can always go over it if you don't like it. And I'm sure in this video, I have many, many times. So enjoy this section here. I'm just punching in a lot of different colors. I'm adding in a light little kind of highlight throughout where I'm kind of reminding myself where that kind of white brown texture will stay and the green will not sink into that area, if that makes sense. So what I am doing now, this part still terrifies me even a couple years into my painting journey, but I think it is super important, and so I'm going to talk about it a little bit at length. Now, with my paintings, again, this is not the sure way to do it. Everyone is going to paint differently, but myself in particular, I paint from dark to light. So you'll see me here starting this kind of brown shadowed area at the top of the eye. It's terrifying to go in on top of all of your work with a very, very dark color. But I think it's super important in ensuring that that eye looks round and realistic rather than kind of falling flat on the paper. So I'm going to be coming back in here a few times. You're going to see me with different shades of this burnt umber color. I've been mixing it actually with that green that we used in the very beginning as well. So if you still have some of that on your palette, if you are following along, or whichever eye color you are working with, mix that middle eye section with that brown and you'll kind of get a really nice gradient going. So now I'm going to be taking that color that we were working with on the top of the eye and start adding in these sections kind of in the middle, just over that green area and kind of blending them outwards. This subject that I'm working with has these beautiful dark brown kind of streaks running through the eye, as well as some darker green areas as well, and kind of a little bit of blue. So you're going to see me working right now, again, dark to light, and I'm going to start adding those in kind of a little bit at a time. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to actually draw the pupil in with black paint. I'm going to fill that in, and oftentimes for me, again, some people prefer to wait till the very end or they do it right from the beginning. I kind of get confused sometimes, I must be honest, and sometimes I lose where exactly I am and where those highlights and those shadows should be. So if you find yourself struggling a little bit and you kind of are losing track of all the beautiful details, kind of draw that pupil in, wherever you are in the process, and maybe that'll kind of bring you back a little bit. It's kind of almost like a starting point where you can kind of hone back in, and that's what I've done here. I've obviously gotten kind of confused and said, you know what, I'm going to add this in right now. So as you can see here, I'm kind of adding this taupe and burnt sienna and burnt umber color down towards the bottom. I will start adding those veins in towards the bottom of the eye as well. So again, working from dark to light, I'm going to go to my darkest point and work up to those highlights afterwards. So here's burnt umber. I am bringing that shadow very, very in drastically now. I've kind of added a base. Here you can see I'm adding a little bit of blue as well to mix into the brown. So don't be afraid to kind of try new combinations of colors as well. Again, worst case scenario, you don't like the way that it looks and you cover over it. But here you can see I'm adding in those burnt umber areas, and I'm really trying to get that shadowy area to come forward now. So I'm just taking my paint here. I'm mixing this burnt umber color with the green that I was using previous, and I'm just going to add in these details. In eyes, there are so many different colors, so many different areas of texture and shape and patterns. So please have fun and just play with it as well. You do not have to follow your reference exactly. Here I'm bringing in a wider square brush just to kind of blend that forward a little bit, rather than having to use my small brush in a much larger area. So I'm using those straight bristles and I'm kind of using it to my advantage to kind of get those veins, up and straight. Again, as I mentioned, I'm just kind of bringing that color down. It's nice to work in layers. You can kind of plan ahead with those lighter kind of brown areas, and then as they dry, you can go in and continue adding in those dark details. Now you'll see a few times throughout this video as well, I've dry brushed a gradient on there as well. So I've kind of used a little bit more pressure, and I've really pushed down on that brown to kind of blend it out when the brush is dry. There you can see I'm really adding those veins now. That's the fun part. Get crazy with it. Now I remember when I was painting this, I realized in this process that my green area wasn't dark enough, and we are prepping to add the highlight, which is very, very important in any sort of eye painting or portrait work rather. Very, very important to get that catch light in your subject. So I remember when I was painting this, I went, oh shoot, and I forgot to kind of make it a little bit darker. So we're adding those veins, and you can definitely see now, even as I'm, watching this back with the power of editing, you can really kind of see that eye come together. Up until now, it's kind of looked a little bit like, a bunch of blobs of paint kind of mushed together. So you can kind of see that shape coming in. I hope you guys can see it as well, but I'm just going to keep layering. If that's one thing that I can hammer down in this tutorial with you, is just to layer, and don't be afraid to have, a bunch of layers. Like, it's never enough. So I'm going in and I'm kind of blending that in using a dry brush, and throughout this I use a little bit of a wetter brush as well. So I've done a little bit of both. Whatever you prefer, whatever works best for your style, please feel free to use that technique. So I'm adding here my first highlight of the painting. I know we've been working with a lot of dark colors, but here I'm kind of adding in, this subject has a beautiful kind of like creamy in-between texture, in between this bluish green area and the brown. It's kind of this beautiful creamy color. So I was excited to add that in. So now what I'm going to do, I have mixed a phthalo blue and a titanium white color, and I'm going to start working on the catchlight of this painting. So I'm just starting to block in my shape. I'm taking it very, very slowly. I'm constantly shifting between the reference and my painting just to make sure that I'm getting an accurate shape and size as well. If you make the catchlight a little bit too large, it can definitely take away from the detail of the painting. It can kind of make it look a little bit unrealistic. But if it's too small, then it's sometimes hard to notice from afar. And so when painting eyes and doing my subjects, whether it be a pet portrait or a wildlife piece, that is one part of the painting that I take the longest on, is really honing in and getting that catchlight just perfect. It can definitely make or break a realistic styled painting. I'm kind of going in, as you can see here, just as a little note, I'm going in with actually a really dark phthalo color on top of kind of like that light blue that I had already prepped for the majority of the base of the catchlight. And as you can see, I'm just kind of following those shapes. And even just now, I'll start mixing wet on the canvas or paper, just to kind of get that gradient right on the paper before it dries. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the exact same color that I did for the catch light, and I am using it for the highlights kind of in the corner of the eye and then on the far left side as well. So the reference that I chose had a very sort of glossy kind of wet texture to it, and that's going to continue all the way down following the curve of that eye on the bottom half. Just as you can see me doing this here now, I'm kind of using a varying amount of shades of phthalo and white together and just kind of blocking that in very slowly, again taking the same kind of fundamentals that we were using earlier, working from dark to light, and then adding those lighter colors right on top and the highlights once it has dried. Now you can use any technique, whether you want it to be wet on wet and blend on the actual canvas itself, or you can wait for it to dry, do it in layers, and then add that white on top after. So now that our phthalo and our white have dried, our first base layer, as you can see here, I'm going in with a much lighter shade of those two colors, and I'm continuing to add on to that catch light and really make it light and stand out. I'm even adding some, just as you saw now, in the bottom corner as well. So what I am doing now is I'm taking my liner brush and I've mixed this beautiful yellow and cream color, and I am just going in and adding some fur details to the top of the eye. So I know this is not a fur tutorial video, and I had to try really hard not to kind of dive into that fur too much. I really wanted to keep this just about that eye, the highlights, and kind of the detail within. So I had to really remind myself to stop. So I'm just adding some details so it doesn't look like this eye is just sitting flat on this paper. You can see me kind of adding tiny, tiny little hairs on the right there and now on the top. So those would be the eyelashes and the hair kind of growing out from the skin of the eye that you see on a lot of big cats and other different kinds of animals. So I'm kind of adding those in. They're almost like little eyelashes on the bottom there as well. So just kind of adding that in and just really trying to remind myself to not make this a full-blown painting. It was very difficult for me. I just wanted to keep going, but I wanted to focus on one thing. So as you can see now, I have changed colors. So I am working with a beautiful titanium white and a little bit of yellow. It's very, very eggshell. And I'm going in and I'm adding those highlights of the hair that you would see in a full painting. You can kind of see me just dropping those in just to kind of give it a little bit more depth and to look a little bit more realistic. So now this part is very, very important to kind of get that realistic feel. So I've taken that original color that we used for our base, and now I am actually drawing in the eyelashes over top of the catch light. So this is actually a reflection. This is not the eyelashes themselves coming down over the eye. This is the reflection. So the lighting is above and causing a reflection down through that catch light. And again, the beauty of this, you can kind of put them in haphazardly, whatever direction you feel. I did not follow the reference for this. I kind of just went with where my brush was going and what my heart was saying, and just where I felt they were needed the most. I took this part very, very slowly, especially with these kind of like, now we're getting into the minute details. Sometimes it's best to just take a breath, think about what you're doing before you do it, and then have a plan of attack. And again, you can cover as much area as you want or as little as you want as well. So now I'm really going in with this white paint now and kind of finalizing the very edges of this catch light. So now I'm going in, as I mentioned in the very beginning, I am using a almost 100% Mars black color just to finally punch out those details. The darkest areas of this eye and the subject, I'm going in and adding that. Now for this section here, I did a burnt umber mixture, and I actually have a very wet brush brushing this in. So I'm kind of dabbing it on the paper towel as I go, and kind of working and changing between a wet on wet and a dry brush. I'm kind of adding that anywhere I feel as though did not get dark enough or that needs a little bit more of a shadow. I'm kind of adding that in. And you can really see that it does make a difference. Sometimes you can go overboard, so be careful not to do too much. You don't want to cover up all the work that you've done. But you can definitely see in that top right area by that catch light, it definitely needed a little bit more shadow, and I'm really glad that I put it in there. And I'm kind of darkening up those veins as well, kind of just making sure that the roundness of the eye is there. All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found it helpful. Please feel free to leave a like and a comment down below what your favorite part of the video was and possible future videos that you would like me to cover. Any specific areas of painting or anything that I may have missed in this video that you want me to expand on, please leave down below. And of course, if you liked my content today, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and that little bell notification to be alerted when I upload next. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks everyone. Bye.